All right, well, so let's get started here. How to stop caring too much about an ex. So before I go into that, let's start with just getting clear on what I mean by too much. What is too much? Because sometimes people can hear this topic and think, well, what's wrong about caring for an ex? That's a good thing, right? It can be, but when I say too much, I mean caring so much about an ex's feelings that you're not taking care of your own. So I hope this makes sense here. That's what I mean by too much. You're putting someone else's feelings and needs over your own, to the point where you're neglecting maybe your health, your own healing, your own emotional well-being. That's what I mean by too much. So this is what we want to avoid. So, maybe what's on our minds is we're going through a breakup, and we know, especially if we consider ourselves empathic people, we know that it might be hard for our ex. Maybe you've heard from maybe from themselves, they've even told you, hey, this is really hard, I'm struggling, or you've heard from other people that it's hard for them, but you still are remaining in touch because you're worried about hurting them. Or maybe they're still reaching out to you. They haven't really fully accepted that the breakup is over, and they're reaching out to you and they're wanting support from you, and it's becoming very difficult for you to heal and move forward. That's what we're going to talk about today. This is such a difficult situation, especially for people who are empathic. Stay with me, till the end here, because I'm going to talk about why we do this, why this happens. But this is one of the things that can keep us stuck in toxic relationships, that can make it harder to move forward because we are overly concerned about someone else's feelings. So yeah, this looks like continuing to respond to your ex's messages when it hurts you to do so, when it's preventing you from healing and moving forward. So I'm curious here, let me know in the comments, can you relate to this? Are you going through this now? Have you gone through this in the past? And this even applies to someone that maybe we're dating and we've realized they're just not the right person for us, but we're afraid to let them down. We don't want to hurt them. So maybe we don't exactly make it clear what we really want and need. So an example here is maybe we really just don't like this person. We don't want to talk to them anymore. We want to just move on from the relationship. But we say things like, oh, well, let's stay friends because we don't want to seem too harsh. These are all the things that can happen when we're caring too much about an ex or someone else. So yeah, Christina is saying, yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm glad you guys can relate to this. And really this comes from a place of not wanting to hurt people. This is what I identified with for a long time. I considered myself an empath and I did not want to hurt anyone, and I was sacrificing so much of my own needs for other people. Tony here is saying, absolutely, it's like ripping a Band-Aid off when you communicate with them. Exactly, it makes it so much harder to move forward, but you're having a hard time completely shutting that door because, like we talked about before, you don't want to hurt somebody. We can feel almost like we're going to destroy them if we withdraw our attention or our communication. And it can feel really scary to take this leap to completely end a relationship, but I'm going to go through how we can do that today. So yeah, what do we do with this? What do we do with this fear of hurting someone and just having such a hard time ending a relationship? How do we shift this? Well, the most important thing to remember here is that when a relationship ends, we by definition are no longer responsible for that other person's emotional well-being. That's what the end of a relationship means. It means that we are no longer each other's emotional support system. And so if your ex is not getting that, if they have not gotten that message yet, that's okay, but you withdrawing that attention, that time, that communication from them does not make you a bad person. This is how breakups go. This is what it should look like. And we also have to remember that just like you're going to be okay after a breakup, they're going to be okay too. You're here in this group getting support. You're probably watching a lot of YouTube videos. You're probably reading a lot of books. Maybe you started going to therapy. Maybe you're working with a coach. Maybe you're getting counseling. I'm sure you're probably doing a lot of different things to help support you in your breakup, right? There's no reason that your ex can't do the same thing. They are perfectly capable of reaching out and getting their own support. Is it going to be uncomfortable for them? Yeah. They want the easy support that they used to get from you. Okay? But we have to keep in mind that they are perfectly capable of getting support outside of you, just like you're doing now. You probably have friends that you talk to. You're probably talking to family. They have that too. They're just going for, like I said, the easy emotional connection. Okay? But we can shift this. They do not need to go to you. And let me see here. Okay, so Bonnie has a question. I'm going to get to that at the end. Thank you for your question. So keep that in mind. They're going to be okay, just like you're going to be okay. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Yes, it's absolutely going to be hard. Is it going to be scary and painful for a while? Yes. But trust that just like you're going to make it through, they're going to make it through as well. It's going to be challenging for them. It's going to be challenging for you, but they will make it through. So trust that. You don't need to feel like if you're going to withdraw your support, which is necessary in order to heal from a breakup, that they're going to be devastated and not be okay. They might be for a time. It might be difficult, but ultimately it's going to serve both of you better to separate and to stop communicating for a while you heal and while you move through that transition period of going your own way. So I hope this is making sense so far. What we also need to do in order to stop caring too much about an ex or other people is we want to make that shift in our empathy. We want to make that shift in our caring from giving it to other people to giving it to ourselves. This is much easier said than done, I know. When I'm talking about shifting patterns like this is very deep work that needs to be done, but this is what it involves. So a lot of us as empaths, and again, I say this as someone who very much identified with that, our subconscious pattern is to give and give and give and to be very loving and very caring, but we forget about ourselves so often. So part of healing from a toxic relationship especially is turning all of that empathy back onto yourself. That's the self-love journey. You know how I go into these groups just like mine and everybody's talking about self-love. You have to love yourself. This is what it looks like. It looks like turning all of that care and compassion and empathy back onto yourself. It's a balance. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the spiritual journey here because it very much relates to this experience, but that's what it is. Like when you meet someone who is fully enlightened, they're not this doormat. They're not only giving and giving and giving and being compassionate and loving. They are like that, but they don't neglect themselves. That love, that compassion, it doesn't just go one way. It goes all ways, all over, including, back onto themselves. So that's something really important to keep in mind here. So as I'm going through here, do you guys have any questions about what I'm talking about so far? Okay, I don't see any questions so far, so I'm going to keep going here. So yeah, like I said, most of us are so used to caring for others. We're so used to accommodating ourselves to the detriment of ourselves. I'm very curious here, how many of you have stayed in relationships or even stayed in touch with exes for far too long because you've been worried about hurting them? That happened to me. I did that many times. And, nowadays I look back and I kind of like go, I would have saved myself so much time healing if I would have ended that communication much sooner. But I didn't because I felt so much guilt and I didn't want to hurt the person. And so if we want to have healthy relationships, this is what has to shift. We have to shift these patterns of giving and staying in touch with people, especially people who hurt us, because we don't want to hurt them. So I'm going to talk about how we do that. So this is Boundaries 101. If you consider yourself an empath, you probably struggle with boundaries because most empaths do. So this is actually what I help my clients do. There are very, very specific energies, emotional energies, subconscious suppressed emotions that are making it harder to set boundaries with people and not put our own well-being first. Things like fear, shame, pain. Those are all suppressed emotional energies that make it so much harder to set these boundaries with people. And once we release these energies with my clients, it's so much easier to set these boundaries with people. And boundaries changes your life. Boundaries is what helps us have healthy relationships. And, if you've ever been in a lot of talk therapy, or you've done a lot of reading books or watching YouTube videos and you still feel like you're stuck with setting boundaries, or you keep having the same relationships, or you can't let go of that ex and really shut the door on that relationship, the subconscious healing modalities that I use are super, super effective for making these shifts that I'm talking about here. So if you're interested in learning more about this and learning about how this works, send me a message, or you can comment "Living Free, Finding Love," and I'll reach out to you and tell you more about how this stuff works. I'm going to talk about my partner a little bit today, but my partner is a therapist, and I've done some work on him. He went from complete skeptic of this work to a total believer. Don't tell him I said this, but he's even considering doing it himself one day because he's just seen how much this stuff can help. It's such a great adjunct to therapy. So anyway, back to the program here. So when we initially start doing this, when we initially start setting boundaries with people, it's scary. It is really scary at first. Our subconscious comfort zone is caring so much about other people, caring too much to the detriment of ourselves, over-giving, not taking our own needs into account. So when we start making these shifts, when we start shifting these patterns, there's a lot of fear that comes up. And so I just want to put that out there because the fear is normal. Every single time that we make a change, that we shift a long-standing pattern, fear is going to come up, and that's good and normal. That's what's supposed to happen. So if you're thinking about making these changes, or you're thinking about not responding to your ex and saying, I don't think it's good for us to keep in touch, and you're feeling a lot of fear come up, perfectly normal. It's going to get easier as you continue to set the boundaries. But just like I said, just know that anytime you make a shift like this, fear is going to come up. It's just going to. So when we start saying no, it's uncomfortable. And what our job here is to do is just to move through that discomfort, to know that that discomfort is a necessary part of the healing process. We can't avoid it. We can't outrun it. Yes, there's things we can do to make it easier, like I talked about the healing work that I do, but there's no way to completely avoid it. There's no magic pill you can take that's going to make change comfortable. Change is always uncomfortable for everyone. And so our job is just to sit there. Maybe we send that message to the ex. We say, what, we're done. And then all the fear comes up and all the guilt comes up. And so our job is to just be present with it, to just sit with it, and to understand that even though we're feeling guilt, we are not doing anything wrong. That guilt is our conditioning. And I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. But if that guilt comes up, if that fear comes up, that's okay. Breathe through it, get some support, talk to a friend, talk to a therapist, talk to a coach. But just know that these emotions are going to come up, but it doesn't mean that you have done something wrong. So, you might be saying to me, well, Lindsay, does this mean that we don't, that we have to stop caring about other people? No, this is not what I'm meaning. Absolutely not. What we're talking about here is bringing our empathy and our caring back into balance, because that's going to help us thrive and heal. We're going to get into trouble if we are just giving too much in one direction. And that can also mean like some people give too much to themselves. They don't care about other people. But I'm sure that that's not many of you here. If you consider yourself an empath, you have the opposite issue, giving too much, caring too much to, like I said, the detriment of yourself. So I'm not talking about stopping caring for other people. No, I'm just saying bring that caring into balance and also care as much about yourself as you care about other people. That's the shift we're talking about here. And when staying in touch with an ex is hurting us too much, that's when we know we need to take care of ourselves and end that contact. Again, I know this is much easier said than done, but this is what we're going for here. We want to care as much for ourselves as we do for others. This is the journey here. And so I do actually want to bring spirituality into this because this is also my area of expertise, the spiritual awakening journey. The spiritual healing journey, spiritual awakening, I'm not talking about New Age stuff where you just learn a lot about like how to manifest. I'm talking about a true spiritual awakening journey. It's all about breaking out of conditioning. And that's what this journey is. When you stop caring too much about an ex, you are breaking out of your subconscious conditioning. And you're going on a healing and awakening journey. That's what it is. This is all about what it looks like. And this was actually the inspiration for my company. I call it Living Free because it's all about breaking free. Breaking free from the conditioning that you have to care so much about other people, that you have to neglect your needs, that you have to sacrifice yourself and your well-being for other people so that other people can remain comfortable. Because here's the why here. Why we do this. This is all our conditioning, 100%. I'm going to share a story with you about myself that highlights this. But this is about conditioning. This is how we were raised, especially as women. So many of us are raised to self-sacrifice. That's seen as a virtue. And this is what we've got to break out of. So breaking free, the living free part of my program, Living Free, Finding Love, this is where it comes from. Breaking out of the conditioning of self-sacrifice. So yeah, I'll share a story with you guys. This actually happened a couple months ago. I think I talked about it in another video about a similar topic, and then I'll kind of bring this full circle for you guys. But like I said earlier, my partner's a therapist, and a couple months ago we were doing this parts work exercise. He was learning how to do parts work, and he was practicing on me. And if you don't know what parts work is, it's a healing modality where you get in touch with different aspects of yourself in order to bring closure and healing to those different parts of yourself, like an inner child part or a part that had to protect you from other people. So he was taking this course and we were practicing on me, and what we found was a part of me that felt so guilty for not doing what other people wanted me to do. So guilty. That part of me just wanted to give and give and give and give until I had nothing left, until I would have been like completely drained, emotionally, energetically, financially, time-wise. It wanted to sacrifice itself so that no one else would be in pain. And I'm curious if you guys can relate to this too. You might feel like you have a part of you that feels very big that can relate to this. The most surprising thing that we learned in this parts work exercise was that this was not actually a loving part. This is what blew my mind. So I considered myself an empath, right? I thought that this was a really good quality that I had, and it was. But when it gets out of balance, this is actually a self-destructive part. That's what blew my mind. I was thinking that, again, this was this amazing quality that I had. Look at me. I'm so caring. I'm so giving. I'm so loving. No. This part was not loving. It was self-destructive. So keep that in mind as I'm going along here. It wasn't a part of me that wanted to help people or love people or do good. No, it was almost like a self-abusive part. It was not a good part. It was not helping me. It was a part that wanted me to sacrifice myself almost to the point where I would have been extremely damaged or extremely hurt. Like I said, I would have had no energy, no time. I would have been living in complete misery just so someone else wouldn't have to feel a little uncomfortable. And this is not healthy in any way. We never want to come at relationships from a place of self-sacrifice, because we will completely wear ourselves down. And if we want to have healthy relationships, we can't do this. We have to take care of ourselves just as much as we take care of other people. So once we recognize these unconscious patterns, like I talked about earlier, our job is to shift them. Here's where the hard part comes in. The hard part. When we make a choice to do something different, I talked about this before, the fear is going to come up. And this is always the hard part of a healing journey. When I got in touch with that part further, there was a reason that I was caring so much about my exes. There was a reason that this part wanted to give and give and give to the detriment of itself, really. And in my case, what that part told me, so in parts work, you have a dialogue with these different parts. So what that part told me was that it was terrified of rejection. Absolutely terrified of rejection. That's why it was acting like it was. That part of me thought that I had to give so much, I had to care so much, otherwise I would be completely alone, I would be abandoned. And this is usually the heart of where these behaviors are coming from. Because for a human being, the fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, the fear of being alone is huge. Because it's a survival instinct. It's built into our DNA to be with a pack, to be included in a group. It's what helped us survive. So that fear of being rejected, of not being included in the group, is so strong and so powerful. Now, this part of me believed that if I didn't do these things, I was going to be alone. Was that actually true? No. No, it wasn't true at all. But that's what that part of me believed. And so this is the work that I do with my clients. We get really deep in there. We take a look at all these parts and we see what is actually true and what isn't. And a lot of times these aspects of ourselves are believing that this is how we have to operate, otherwise we're going to be abandoned. Some of this may have developed because that was actually the truth when we were younger. But now that we're adults, this doesn't have to be our truth anymore. We can be in healthy, balanced relationships. We don't have to overgive for someone to stay with us. So these are the shifts that we're going to be making here. So let me see, was there anything else that I wanted to share with you guys? But let me know, was this helpful so far? Is this helping you with letting go of some of that burden of feeling like you need to care for other people, or you are caring so much about an ex it's making it hard to leave them and to shut that door for good? Now, there's lots of other things that go into letting go of an ex, things like trauma bonds, and I've talked about that in other videos, but for today, I'm just speaking specifically about the desire to care for someone else to the detriment of yourself. But let me go to some of your questions here. Okay, so Bonnie has a question. How to handle best people who ask how the ex is doing as I'd moved on, just for their own desire to seem interested, when they are not truly interested in my best intentions or interests? That's a good question, Bonnie. And I think what you're meaning here is like when you're just having casual conversation with people and they say, oh, how's the ex? I think that's what you're meaning, so that's what I'll address my answer to. So when that's coming up, check with yourself first. Do I actually feel comfortable talking about this? If you don't, make your answer just short and sweet. Oh, I don't know how he is. We don't talk anymore. That's it. And if someone does push you on that, you can say, hey, is it okay if we don't talk about this? It's still a little bit painful for me. It's okay to express those things. It's okay to express that it's difficult for you to talk about and you don't want to talk about it anymore. And then if someone does continue to bring it up, that's your cue to exit the conversation. And so again, Bonnie, I don't know specifically who this might be, but yeah, you just say like, either you don't know, because hopefully you truly don't know. Hopefully you're taking some time away from your ex and you're not talking and you don't know how they are, and you can just say that. We're not together anymore. I don't know. I don't keep in touch with them. But again, if they push you, if they push your boundaries, you are free to leave that conversation or change the subject, or even be as clear as, I'm not comfortable talking about this. Can we talk about something else? So I hope that helps, Bonali. Let me see here. Yeah, lots of you have been able to relate to this. Yeah. So Afshin says, yeah, I blocked him when we broke up, but he reached out from another number and it scared me so much. Yeah. Some of these exes can be quite persistent. I had to deal with that too myself. And that's when it gets so hard. It can get so hard because you know, we can often interpret that persistence, them continuing to reach out to us, as they're in pain or they're struggling. And sometimes that's the case, but sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes they really just want that attention. They want that control back that they used to have. And so it can trick us as empaths. We think, oh, that they must be in so much pain. But no, they're just wanting that attention from you. Okay, yeah, Maya's saying, having joint custody has been exhausting me. Yes, he keeps making sure he triggers me. Yeah, Maya, I feel for you. Your ex sounds really, really difficult to be with. And so with him, yeah, you're just going to have to continue to have those super, super clear, strong boundaries. But yeah, I can imagine that it would be exhausting. Yeah, 100%. Bonali is saying, yeah, I self-talk my thoughts when toxic situations from yester moments arise. You don't live here anymore. That's a great thing to do. I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay. So yeah, as I'm going through here, guys, drop any questions you have, and I'm going to try to address them here. So Afshin is saying, how to handle the anxiety that comes along when the ex gets in touch through another number. Of course, we have a soft, excuse me, a soft spot for them, so it gets hard. Yes, yes. So Afshin, if he does reach out to you through another number, there is going to be anxiety at the stage where you are in your recovery process. I mean, you really can't help that. That anxiety eventually will go away as you heal and as you recover, but it's going to be there for now. So what you can just do is, as soon as you pick up your phone and you see that this is him, block that number. Keep it moving. Don't entertain it. Don't think, oh, maybe I should respond. Maybe he's not doing well. Maybe I need to talk to him. You see that number, you block, you continue to move forward. That's it. And that way you're not going to dwell on it so much and let that anxiety just ramp up. And as what can sometimes happen is we can just go in thought circles and our mind can race. It's not necessary. That's what happens when we start to think about it and try to figure out what we should do, or what this text means, or how they're doing. Don't go there. Just see the number, block it, delete the message, keep it moving. Go on to do something else that can distract your mind from what just happened. And that should help. You know, I would do your best to try to find ways so that he doesn't have access to you, but I do know that it's difficult, depending on this person's personality and their actual like technological capabilities. Sometimes it can be so hard. I've seen stories where women have just had to fight really savvy, like technologically savvy people to just protect themselves. So yeah, it can be hard at times. Okay. Yeah, Bonley says, "Ooh, yeah, I had to uninstall Messenger even to empower myself." Yes, exactly. Do whatever you need to do to take care of you. That's my message here today. Your healing and your well-being should be your number one priority, not your ex, or not even a guy that you're dating and you think you need to break up. When we're in a healthy relationship, it doesn't look like I can share from myself. I'm in a healthy relationship. My number one priority is not my boyfriend. I care very much about him, and I'd say he's my number two priority, but I am my number one priority. I take care of myself so that I can show up in a healthy, loving way in the relationship. When I don't do that, when I overgive, when I overcare, that's when the relationship gets a little lopsided. I'm being drained. I'm not truly happy because I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not showing up for myself. So you guys, I hope this is helpful. Let me see here. What else did I want to share with you guys today? So yeah, so if you feel like you might have a part, just like I did, that is self-sacrificing, self-sabotaging, that is so terrified of rejection that it feels the need to constantly give, and is constantly worried about other people to the detriment of yourself, please reach out for support. Reach out to me because this is what I specialize in. We do the deep subconscious healing work to break these patterns. Living free. I want all of you guys to live free of all of this conditioning that is robbing you of really having an amazing life and an amazing relationship. And I know these patterns inside and out because I have been there, done that, and now I am free. And I'll tell you, life is so much better. So much better. So yeah, any other questions here, you guys, before I end this live today? I'm going to just leave this up here for a minute, but you know, if you are interested in working with me, please reach out sooner rather than later because I do only have a small number of spots that I can fill each month because it's an intensive program. It takes a lot of energy from me to do some of the deeper subconscious work with you. So yeah, please reach out sooner rather than later if you are interested. And thank you so much for joining me on this live here. It's so fun to have you guys here. Oh, Cassie says, I'm now in a healthy relationship thanks to my help. Yay! Yeah, she's one of the success stories of the program. This work is life-changing. It gets so deep and it helps you to release all of this stuff that's keeping us in the patterns of caring too much. And I have to say that when it comes to looking for a healthy partner, someone who doesn't have boundaries, someone who is giving, it actually is very unattractive to a person who does have healthy boundaries and who does put themselves as their number one priority. It will seem like a mismatch. So this is something we actually have to do if we want to have a healthy relationship. Otherwise, the healthy partners are going to look at us and say, I don't think she's quite right for me. Oh, Cassie, thank you for your kind words here. Yeah, I don't see any other questions here. So, all right, I'm going to say goodbye, and I will talk to you guys next week with a new topic. All right, see you then.